welcome everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order and let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Houston, would you lead us?
Everyone, please stand. Your right hand over your heart and face the flag. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. I have been asked to read that the San Bernardino Community College Board of Trustees offers an opportunity for the public to address the board on any agenda item prior to or during the board's consideration of that item. Comments must be limited to 5 minutes per speaker and 20 minutes per topic if there are more than one speaker. At the conclusion of public comment, the board may ask staff to review a matter or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. As a matter of law, however, members of the board may not discuss or take action on matters raised during public comment unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion or action in open session. Anyone who requires a disability-related modification or accommodation in order to participate in a public meeting should contact the Chancellor's office. And it's always amazing to me they put that in here now as if you're going to call. Quick, I need that. So, but if you were going to call, you'd call 909-388-6901 as far in advance of the board meeting as possible, having heard this announcement during it. All right, so moving on to item 2, public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. We have one speaker and one speaker who is speaking for 2 other people in line with the 5 minutes, and we appreciate that. So first, Karina Baber.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karina Baber. I am a CSCA member, CSCA secretary, and a longtime district employee. On behalf of CSCA, I would like to request a change in the start time of the board meetings. Previously, before the pandemic, they used to begin at 5 o'clock. Now they begin at 4 o'clock. Before we came back to in-person meetings, we had a lot of activity with our members on Zoom, and now they can't do that because most of our members either work until 4:30 or 5, and they cannot get here. I mean, they could obviously get here after the beginning, however, they'd miss the public comment. So it makes it extremely difficult to participate in person now. We would respectfully ask you to consider returning to the 5 o'clock start time so our members can participate. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, David Carmichael. And David Carmichael has been donated the time of Speaker Kristen, I'm going to say this wrong, is it Rosh? And Naomi Elizalde, and I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. But if you have 15 minutes, Mr. Carmichael.
Thank you so much, Chairman and Chancellor Rodriguez. And it's with deep respect that I address the board and with deep appreciation. In behalf of the students and the staff, I'd like to thank you all for your leadership and guidance during this time of darkness and fear and division in the world. And I would like to applaud and let you know that on behalf of us all, I feel that you have done an outstanding job. But it's with this subject that I would like to address you today. And I speak in behalf of many that perhaps because of multiple reasons, fear, the unknown, the decisions that the world is making, there's multiple reasons. And so I beg for your attention. I feel that these challenges that we face now are epic. And what I mean by that is I believe that your decisions here locally will echo through time. It's dynamic and it's ever-changing. However, there's no one else that can replace you for this task and these decisions at hand. This isn't just a matter of mandates. This is a matter of potential life and death decisions. And with that said, I guess I want to pour out my heart and let you guys know how deeply I anticipated the meeting that was held last week. For a year and a half, I don't have a lot of people that I talked to it about, but I had anticipated the discussion with deep interest. Not only were many not in attendance whose voices hold logic and reason and care for students and concern for staff and constituents, this decision was made in a rush in what was almost, with a lack of a better analogy, it was almost like a midnight decision in a back room and passed through. And we're talking about the lives of everybody in this district. And so it's with passion that I address you as well, because I deeply care for people. And some people don't have a voice. I felt last week it was very disappointing, not just for the reasons there, but I felt that it was casually postured and rushed through. And the only real argument that I heard was a Typhoid Mary argument, which, just to offer a couple slight points on that, meaning no disrespect to Chairman Longville, but I mean, we're talking about an age of darkness in medicine, 20 to 30 years prior to the creation of penicillin, where they used urine and bloodletting for many medical practices. I'm sure that you would all agree that this is a much more enlightened age in which we have tremendous amounts of data by which to make good decisions in behalf of everybody that you represent. I would like to recommend a motion that you deeply consider, that the decision that was made last week be reconsidered, with every member of the board here to argue, to bring up your passion and your heart, take your stand, speak for those without the voices. I know you know how to do that. You've been doing it all your career. We're talking about decisions that really are going to impact people. Also, it would be wonderful if you gave ample notice so that all that were willing could attend, students, staff, faculty, with a good outline on the bullet points that you are going to be discussing. There's much information out there that we could use for that agenda. Also, I think it would be dynamic for you to do perhaps a panel of individuals to look into the facts. We're not new at this. We have 2 years of data that has been collected on every subject matter. And believe me, I know that the conspiracy theories, which is a hot topic, is spreading like wildfire around. But this is an institution of educators and probably some of the most brilliant administrators in Southern California. I'm convinced of that. And so you're tasked with collecting that with 2 years of evidence to make a good decision moving forward in behalf of all that you are making a decision for. I believe that some of the things that should be addressed are natural immunity versus mRNA vaccine. And although it was considered a horse medicine, there are current case studies in other governments worldwide that have reversed their decision on this vaccine and went with more traditional medicines like ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, that are proven effective. Matter of fact, I wanted to bring to your attention a New York Times article that was all of a sudden appeared and then disappeared as far as your ability to search for it, which talked about the mystery of all the body bags and all the deaths that we've seen in India that was widely publicized on the news. And then all of a sudden, New York Times wrote an article on the mystery of the COVID numbers in their decline. If you look into the truth of that, of the information that's coming out of India, they reversed their provinces on the vaccine mandate and went back to the traditional ivermectin, and it began to decline. And now it's nearing manageable numbers because of the early treatments that are not made available by the medical community in our area. Also, things to consider are, why are there case breakthroughs? The vaccinated, can they carry the infection? The emergency use authorization. Why was it stripped of its ending phase trials, which prove that it's safe? I don't know about you, I'm not the most intelligent guy. However, how can they say it's safe when there is no long-term study? How can they say that? It's the difference between a loaded gun, if you get it and potentially die, or somebody handing you a gun with a single bullet and saying it's Russian roulette, because on the VAR system, there are many people that have taken the vaccine that have gotten it again, and there's other repercussions in health and blood clots and all kinds of things that are coming out of this that there is no study on. What are the long-term effects? Are you guys, as a body, ready to make a decision that might cut off someone's family line? The vaccine has been known to cause damage to natural immunity, something that's been handed down that I've inherited personally from my great-grandfathers and all that have been come before me, to trust in a modern trial medication that's not long-term tested. How does that make sense? I leave it to you. If it's effective, why are there need for boosters? And when will that end? I think it's a good question that should be considered. There are also other treatments, monoclonal antibodies. Why aren't those on the table? In respect, you are the voice for us all. I would like you to deeply consider, if just one person's life comes to an end based upon the decision, isn't that alone enough for you to seriously take this subject home and weigh it and discuss it as a body all together? Currently, last week, there were exemptions. Religion and underlying health causes. But what about the voice for the unvaccinated, the people that are worried about the long-term effects? It's a valid argument, and I think it should be considered. Do the healthy have no voice? Or the recovered from COVID, unvaccinated, do they have no voice even though that they have antibodies? Many feel that the unvaccinated are a threat. Can I ask you why? If they're vaccinated and protected, what's the concern? They go home if they contact it with sniffles and a fever and maybe a slight cold, where those that are unvaccinated are risking their potential life. But it's their choice. That should be considered. And then, I don't know if it helps, but I think that the liabilities should also be considered. Big Pharma, they're exempt. So who pays? The tests? I called the insurance company, I called the doctor. The doctor has to order the test, and they won't order it test weekly. So if that's going to be mandated, who pays for that? It's a liability and a hardship on people that are struggling. You guys know the prices. It's hard enough. And now hundreds of dollars have to be considered on a weekly basis to support a healthy person's proof that they're not sick. It should be considered. And then this deadline that is potentially pending, you have to give in perhaps against your will for a shot that could harm you or your job. Wow. That's pretty heavy to change someone's life like that when they're healthy because of potential. It's kind of like a bully tactic. Wouldn't you agree? Where does that come from? I've never seen this board act in such a way to force something upon a person without their will. And the students, where are they going to stand? And the families and the staff and the teachers, where is all that going to come together? No long-term study. Reuters today limited Moderna in Finland, saying that there are rare cases where they've identified the Moderna vaccine in association with rare cardiovascular issues. That's just the beginning. What other rare things are going to pop up that we don't know about that we're submitting ourselves to? Believe me, I'm not an anti-vaccine person, and I have not revealed whether I have taken it or not, but I feel compelled to speak in behalf of those that have no voice in this situation. Things must be considered deeply, and I'm sorry it falls upon your shoulders, but I believe that based upon all the things that we discussed, that there's more caution and consideration that must be taken. I would like to read to you a 2013 mission statement from SBCCD, online, 2013. The declared weakness, lack of communication. I think that was apparent last week. SBCCD values integrity, the strengths, a culture that believes in evidence-based decision-making, the ability to come together, and exhibits innovation. Oh my God, if there was ever a time when these values needed to come to the fore of an issue, this is the event. I believe your decisions will not only echo through time, but you will be remembered for one way or another how you handled this issue. Your grandchildren's grandchildren will be reading one day how this board stood in a time of darkness, fear, and division and made decisions based upon behalf of everyone. I'd like to thank you all for your time.
Thank you. So we are really excited to give just a little bit of background and foundational information about our San Bernardino Regional Emergency Training Center via presentation. I want to introduce one of our guests in the audience today. We have Captain Christopher Bowden, who's going to help us a little bit because he's our technical expert on this. But we're going to start with just a quick video to kind of show you what the training center is about. And then once we do that, we'll give you a little more information. But this is a nice overview.
I needed first responders that are going to remain calm and are going to do what the incident commander needs them to do and stay focused with the plan. The FAA establishes a 3-minute response time from the time of the disaster until the time we are on scene. We have seen that a fire will burn through the skin of an aircraft in 3 minutes. And so it's important that we get to the aircraft within 3 minutes to prevent any kind of fire from penetrating that skin and into the cabin where people might still be.
The San Bernardino Regional Emergency Training Center is an aircraft rescue firefighting facility. Currently, we provide training for firefighters that will be dealing with aircraft incidences, whether it's helicopters or airplanes. We provide classes both to train the firefighter to specifically learn about the aircraft rescue part, and we also do ongoing training for the updates that's necessary by the Federal Aviation Administration. And then we also do customized training. So we have many customers that will want specific rescue techniques, certain kind of fires, and so we will customize training for them also.
We have a state-of-the-art facility here. We have a SAF trainer, which is the red and white one. We have a spill trainer. Everything is to FAA specifications. The hands-on is very intense. The students dress up, they feel the heat. The pit burn gets hotter than 1,200 degrees, and they feel that when they walk into that. They know that this is the real thing.
We're dealing with burning liquid propane. It burns hotter than a normal fire and is much more difficult to put out. It's supposed to simulate a running fuel fire. So we go through a safety briefing out there. We prepare, we make sure we check our partners, we check each other, make sure everybody's covered up with their safety gear.
We have those interior fighters with a flash over, so they can be inside, fire will flash over their heads. The fire's coming up inside the seats. They're in there looking, and all they see is smoke and a little bit of orange glow, and that's part of the experience that they seem to enjoy the most because it is so real.
To be inside of there just gives you that extra boost of confidence in case we ever had to do it for real.
My favorite part of the training would be all the hands-on, not just the firefighting, but the different props and scenarios this facility has. The different helicopter scenarios, the general aviation, then we could switch right from there into GA aircraft, into a 727. And also, I really enjoyed cutting up some plane parts.
Our truck operations we're really proud of them. We keep them moving around pretty good. We also have some debris scattered out there because in a true emergency, it's not going to be level ground. So we have some aircraft parts scattered that they need to watch out for as they drive. It's very intense. Normally we have two apparatus responding. They need to talk to each other and tell each other what they're going to do and where they're going to go. And this is one of the better parts of our training is the pit burns. We have two props out here for piercing. We have a training prop. Even better is we have the forward half of a 727 that we use for piercing. No other facility that I know of has that prop. And basically with that is we can have the students go ahead and pierce, and then we can stop the whole operation, take them up inside and show them where actually the nozzle is on the inside of the aircraft so they can see there's an exact spot that needs to go.
After the training and the skills we learned at this facility, I feel more comfortable with how my troops will respond and react on a real event.
I would definitely say that SBR ETC is a state-of-the-art training facility. And you can use foam, you can use extrication, you can use firefighting. The staff is very flexible. Our customer actually value the fact that they can have input on the schedule and on the training itself. And basically because of that, that makes SBRTC one of the most versatile and flexible training facilities I know.
This annual training gives us all a chance to actually work together as a team, and I think that is very important. That just cinches our abilities to actually handle an incident more efficiently and effectively. That cohesiveness will make sure we all survive and get back home safely.
Oh, okay. So we're going to switch. We have a little bit of a presentation, and just if you were wondering what was going on behind the curtain, the video that we showed is amazing, right? And it's got all of the basic information. We had a more updated video that we were hoping to be able to show, so something got lost in the cyber world, but that one certainly does do the trick. So we just want to acknowledge that we actually do have an updated video. So some of you may have recognized some of those people from a few decades ago, and no one's aged, so that's kind of amazing. So there you go. Right. So if it looked a little dated, then you'll know why. But the Regional Emergency Training Center is a joint powers authority, and the partnership is between the San Bernardino Community College District and the San Bernardino County Fire Department at this point. So we'll click to the next slide where we're gonna just give you a little bit of a history, a little bit of the overview, which is actually the next slide. There you go. So you'll recognize these are some of the people probably from the video who again haven't aged, although we do have a few of our trustees who absolutely have not aged since 1998, or when that was I think 2006 at the grand opening. But you can see that the JPA was formed in 1998, right? Find yourself in there. And and with that, so the location of the facility is at our San Bernardino Airport. And so if you can go into the Wayback Machine and think about 1998 and what that San Bernardino Airport looked like, it was a lot different than what it looks like today. We did not have the cargo, the Amazon, the FedEx, the everything that really within the last about 18 months has gone up so quickly. So it was a wonderful agreement. We have a lease that we have with the airport authority. That's a really amazingly reasonable lease that was signed in 2003, and then we began the construction, and you can see the dates for the completion. So as we're moving forward into more, the era that we're in now, or this decade or the last decade, you can see that there have been a few changes. First, San Bernardino City was one of the original members of the JPA, but the San Bernardino County Fire kind of subsumed the city in 2016, and that's when the partnership shifted to County Fire from San Bernardino City. And then the most important thing on this particular slide as we're looking ahead is that our current lease that we have does have an expiration date that's coming up in May. So we wanted to give you this information today just as a history and a foundation so that as things start to move forward with some decisions related to what's going to happen next, you would have this as a history. So we'll go to the next slide. And this is when hopefully we can have Captain Bowden kind of jump in and help a little bit. But these are the trainings that are offered. And you don't have to give a whole lot of detail, but if you want to touch on those, that would be awesome,
Sure.
I think.
So one of the things in aviation is if an airport has passengers coming in and out, they have to provide fire protection services for those passengers. And so one of the things that the FAA requires of those airports is that their personnel have to be initially trained to the specialization of aircraft firefighting. And then every year they have to participate in live fire training within 12 months of their last live fire training situation to stay current. Our facility is able to offer that. So when you see Part 139 annual live fire training, that's the part of the federal air regulations that requires firefighters to attend that annual training. Sorry, my glasses are fogging. Attend that training every year. And the only other place that somebody can that an agency, the next closest place that an agency can just go on and register one of their firefighters to come to get that training, the next closest place to here is in Dallas, Fort Worth. There are some places where they have agreements with their military operators who have facilities that they can do this with, but as far as being able to just say, I need to get my person recertified, next closest to here is Dallas, Fort Worth. So we see a lot of people for those classes. The 40-hour class is that initial training for personnel to be able to work at airports. We do emergency vehicle training. We do other sorts of specialized training. This week and next week, I have a group of 8 folks from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. So they came all the way out here to our facility from Nigeria for some specialized training in airport emergency planning and dealing with airport emergencies. And it's a constant stuff going on there, keeping people up to date with aviation.
Thank you so much. We're going to kind of pop to the next slide just to kind of highlight some of what Captain Bowden talked about in terms of numbers and successes. This little center that's really now in the middle of this ginormous airport that's this fully developed airport. We have a really small footprint, but it's an international footprint, as was just spoken about. And again, it's the, in the United States, we're, sort of like the western part of the United States. There's not really anything closer than us. So we have, if you think about the size of just departments within Southern California, when you think about Los Angeles and the numbers of folks that need to have training and the fact that we have this kind of a training center in close proximity, you can see why we have so many participants on an annual basis that come to us for this training. It's a beautiful example of collaboration. So in order to first open up the facility, that there was a pretty extensive grant application process, and I'm sure that Frank can speak better than I. to that, but with the Federal Aviation Administration to really stand this center up. And it is a 20-year term. And so we are getting to the end of that term. So those agreements and those kinds of things are part of the decisions that will be happening, coming up within the next relatively short amount of time. But it is a wonderful collaboration across multiple agencies, and that's what made our grant application as strong as it was when we initially stood the center up. And again, international exposure to our region. So folks, I don't necessarily think that our, partners and friends from Nigeria would necessarily choose San Bernardino as a destination, but once they're here and they see what we have, they might come back. And that's just one example, but we have, German teams come in. We have folks from all over the globe that really come to visit, and we know that it will help boost the overall footprint, the global footprint of our region. So we'll move to the next slide where we really talk a little bit about the challenges. So you saw in the video the equipment, and the equipment that you saw in the video is when it was brand new. So that equipment, large, really capital outlay type equipment, there is some equipment replacement costs that are not currently in our existing FAA agreement and grant that we have. We have, like I said, we've got some long-term lease discussions that need to happen. And then we do know that there is competition in the virtual world. You can't get the same kinds of training, but there is certainly virtual competition and privatization that's happening. So there are some challenges that we as a JPA board are kind of looking at, and we are keeping that in front of all of us as we go into this next sort of phase of where we might go in the future with the training center. But that is kind of just a foundational piece. I know that we have trustees who were in the original picture, with the ribbon cutting. But I know there are some of us that are new, and we just wanted to kind of give everybody a quick update. And then the trustees have a wonderful calendar suitable for framing. And it is 2021, so we did get a deal on the calendar because it is October. But who doesn't love a good firefighter calendar? So with that concludes my presentation. So thank you. Unless anybody has any questions.
Were there any questions?
Who do we have to negotiate?
My name is Chris Bowden. I'm a captain with the San Bernardino County Fire Department and a training officer for the San Bernardino Regional Emergency Training Center. We provide training for firefighters throughout the world to learn how to respond to aircraft crashes and incidents at an airport. We teach the firefighters about aircraft construction, aircraft types, working around an airport, how to fight a fire in an aircraft, how to perform rescues in an aircraft, as well as any other information that they need to know that's unique about working around the airport and aircraft environment. The training center is globally recognized. We have clients from Canada, Europe, and Africa who have come to this training center for both their primary training and their recurrent training. So we can provide requirements that other countries require from their aviation industry as well.
Okay.
Well, that was interesting.
There we go. So you got to hear the other video, which, it's nothing better than listening to.
My question was, who do we have to negotiate with on an extension of the lease? Is that a local decision, a state decision, or a federal decision?
It's a local decision. So we're currently working with the Airport Authority and the IVDA on those conversations. Okay. So our Board of Supervisors definitely has a lot of influence on, how those lease extensions may go.
It's been a long time since we started this whole process. And it seemed to me that I haven't seen in that period of time, in the early days, there were a lot of tours by our local officials of the facilities, but I haven't seen them, or I'm not aware of it, I'm sorry. I'm not aware that they have taken tours lately. And so, especially the Board of Supervisors.
Right, and
Especially the Board of Supervisors. They have not come to any events where we have training. And so I would suggest that we twist some arms from their staffs and try to get a tour so that they understand exactly what we have. I don't think they appreciate it in the same way until they can actually see what is being done there.
Good point. Trustee Williams?
I'm not sure if you're familiar. They have the California Resilience Challenge, and the RFP for it just closed. I think the grants are like $250,000. I don't know how much it is for the equipment, but it's designed to address climate threats like drought, fire, flood, and extreme heat. And I don't know if your projects or if the JPA might qualify, but they struggle to get applications from the Inland Empire. And so it might be a resource. I don't know if the JPA qualifies or not, but it comes up fairly once a year.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments? Trustee Reyes?
I'm so happy that this is happening. I was the one that actually pushed for the grant, and we got some help from Washington, D.C. with Congressman Lewis and Brown. I'm glad that things are moving along fairly well. I believe that we can probably get some grants. I believe that at the state level, that we can push for that. Right now, what's happening in our state? Fires. Well, we should have a committee and maybe go visit even the governor and tell him that we have something very special that we can offer a solution. I think that we can be successful. That's the way we started at the very beginning. We didn't have any idea until we worked hard. We went to Washington, we advocated, and now you have actually a track record of the things that you've done. We actually, the first time we met, we actually had people from China come over and from France. It was a very great opportunity. And you've done a real good job, but somehow we need to, you can't keep a good secret, even though you probably say it's not a secret, but as Trustee Williams says that, there's some things that we can probably advocate. I've already mentioned it to Chad Mays, who is your assembly person in the area, and he's committed. We can talk to the congressman in your area. I believe it's, what's it, over Nolte, in that area. We could also, let them know, but there is opportunities, and make sure you do your statistics well in terms of what you've done, how you do it, and all of that, because this is the best time to try to get monies for anything to do. What's the most important thing in the state right now? Climate change, fires. So we can offer that opportunity. And I like some of the things that was said in the tape, but you can do even better because of other things that, you have a good committee. And we'll get the Board of Supervisors to work hard on this because they'll get some pressure from the state saying, you have this great facility, the training, and all that. So I compliment you, and I'll be more than happy to work with you and Stephanie. Stephanie's done a good job representing the college. I think we can get some money.
Correct. Yeah, and thank you. We do keep pretty good statistics of everybody coming through. A large portion of the funds that would be needed to do this would come from the FAA, and they have money set aside for that. We've already had preliminary discussions with them about the future, and they've indicated to us that because of our strategic placement and the lack of other facilities around us, that San Bernardino remaining solvent and staying there is really important to the FAA as far as them keeping airports up and running as well. So
at the time when we first opened, there were only 12 in the United States. I don't know if they've increased, but we're still one of them.
by a couple, but a couple have closed. So
Wonderful.
Right. So we thank you so much for, and I am always terrible with the thank you. So I need to recognize that Dr. Haran also sits on the JPA board, along with Captain Bowden, myself, and several other fire service members. And we've been engaging in strategic planning and really sort of laying out the next course of action. And this presentation is a very intentional portion of that, so that we all sort of can establish a sort of a foundational place. And the plan is to also speak to our Board of Supervisors and then others who we know will need to be able to support this moving forward as we continue and look at the opportunities to renew with the FAA. So thank you for allowing us the opportunity to
Who's
present.
the board of supervisors in charge of the Norton Air Force Base? You know? Well, the area where their fire facility is. I mean, our board of supervisors will be on top of that, but I think that the one that could take the lead is the one that is in charge of, they're divided in districts. You don't, is it, I don't know.
think
if
it's Don Rao, I believe.
What's that?
I believe it's Don Rao, who's the.
Wonderful. We can even
yeah.
talk to him. I think it's.
And she's on the IVDA as well as Kurt.
And she's
Hagman.
good. She's good.
So-
Yeah, we can work with her. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ontario comes to see us, so Supervisor Hagman has
Hagman,
quite
yeah.
the interest in us being there.
Yeah. It's a win-win situation. They just need to be informed.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trustee Houston, President Horan, Captain Bowden, appreciate it. It's good to hear about that. Before we move on, I have been given a piece of paper and it says, can you announce if you lost a ring? Please see Sergeant Owens in the back of the room.
Joseph looks at it.
If it's worth a lot, bring it to me. So, all right. Thank you. So if you lost a ring, that's what you do. Okay, moving on to the approval of minutes. We,
Madam Chair?
sir?
I just was going to note before we took the next item that something that a few of my colleagues might find slightly ironic, that my closest relationship on the Board of Supervisors these days is with Supervisor Baca Jr. And I have developed a good relationship with a couple of his staff people. In fact, one of them I've known for many years, but the relationship has just grown considerably. And so I would look forward to, based on a luncheon discussion I just had with one of his key staffers, I believe that we can get Supervisor Baca to become a supporter of what we need here as well. And I'm very pleased to see everything that's been developing on this, because as you may recall, Trustee, when you were elected to the board, we needed some committee or something to split off from you, and I was on that board. And in fact, I had just become president of it just within a few months prior to that. But I gave it up so that we could put that on you, and I'm very happy I did, because I think you've done a better job than I was doing. I appreciate very much all that you've done with the airport board. It's a wonderful facility. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, then moving on to the approval of minutes. The minutes up for approval are September 9th, 2021, September 23rd, 2021. May I have a motion and second?
Second, and I'd like to make a comment about both.
Thank you. Please, discussion.
So I just wanted to call out from the 9th, the public comment from introducing youth to America's infrastructure. I had the opportunity to participate in some of their virtual sessions, and I think some of our board members would really be interested about the work that's happening at Valley. They're focused on critical infrastructure like I think they call it National Critical Lifeline Infrastructure. So they're focused on transportation, energy, water, communications, and critical manufacturing. And it's just really interesting how they're engaging youth, trying to get women in non-traditional positions. And as you think about the tech building that we're about to launch, I saw the imagery on LinkedIn, and it looks really cool. At some point, I'd like to ask that we have a conversation about what kind of programming is going into the building, and to be able to have the board to have just a dialogue about what the future looks like in terms of programming for these kind of things. And if we can have an update on this partnership, I would really be interested in hearing more about the work. The second thing is on our decision about the COVID presentation. I think it is important for the board to, and not to take anything away from the director. I really was not impressed with the presentation from the Department of Public Health. Trustee Houston talked about a presentation that she participated in by Loma Linda University. I had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Hart, and he shared some really good information. I think it's important that the board just have some continued discussions and just continue to increase our understanding as things change. We agreed that we would have a standing monthly update on COVID. And so I'd like to ask the Chancellor and the Board Executive Committee to develop some metrics that we can use to review monthly so that we decide whether we're pulling back or whether we're going to continue with the mandate. Those are the comments that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments in regards to the minutes? With a motion and a second, I'll call for the vote. Student trustee, how do you vote? Aye. Trustees, how do you vote?
Aye.
The minutes pass. Moving on to item 5, celebrations and presentations. If staff could please put up the applause cards on the screen. I'd like to recognize all those achievements of these fabulous people. So, because it's applause cards, let us give them applause. These are also in the minutes, so you can definitely go through and see all of the outstanding people that we have working here and their recognition. Also, employee anniversary recognition. I believe the anniversaries are up now on the screen. I'd like to congratulate all the staff for their years. Notice there is a 39-year staff from the financial aid group. That's amazing. Yeah, several people over 20, 30 years. That's outstanding. And it's a testament to the outstanding district that we get the honor of representing for you guys. So thank you very much for all you do. And congratulations to everyone hitting a milestone year. Excellent. All right. Moving on to item 6, the action agenda. The first item is the building name dedication in honor of Ms. Lois Carson. May I have a motion and a second for discussion? Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. Discussion.
I do have a question.
Yes,
Is there a committee working on the actual celebration and when we're going to do the naming? Is it a campus committee?
After this item has been approved, then a committee will be formed. It will be primarily of the San Bernardino Valley College community.
Mm-hmm. The community. It's some community people.
That is correct.
very good. Other discussion? Trustee Longo, were you indicating you had discussion?
Just purely, I can't let the occasion pass by without commenting on Lois's extraordinary impact in this area in so many ways. I mean, there's been a lot published about her since her passing, and I don't just want to become redundant, but she really influenced so many things in so many ways, and I had the pleasure of working with her in a variety of contexts, both on policy and political matters, and it's another one of those passings that you just have a hard time believing that she's gone. She's contributed so much, and I'm very happy that we're naming a building after her.
Absolutely.
Because I'm absolutely certain this vote is going to be a unanimous vote.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Then I'll call for the vote. Student trustee, how do you vote? Aye. Trustees, how do you vote? Aye. I believe that was unanimous. All right, excellent. Moving on, item B is the public hearing and acknowledgement of initial proposals to reopen negotiations with the SBCCD. So I'd like to now open the public hearing for public comment on the initial proposals to reopen the negotiations. as proposed by SBCCDTA Article 10 wages, as proposed by SBCCDTA Article 13 workload, Section E working remotely, as proposed by the district Article 11 health and welfare benefits. Do we have any comments from the public? Seeing none, we will close the hearing. Now, having conducted the public hearing pursuant to Government Code 3547, may I get a motion and a second to acknowledge these proposals and the parties to commence negotiations. Thank you. I have a motion.
Second.
And I have a second. Student trustees, how do you vote? Aye. Trustees, how do you vote?
Aye.
I believe that was unanimous. All right, moving on to item C, public hearing on accordance with Government Code 4217. Like the last item, no motion or second is required. I'd like to now open a public hearing in accordance with Government Code Sections 4217.10 to adopt a resolution determining that a design build contract proposed by Sunpower Corporation Systems Incorporated corresponds to the following findings. The cost of the contract is less than the anticipated energy cost savings from the contract under California Government Code Section 4217.12 per the attached item, which is in our board book and your minutes. And the proposed contract is otherwise in the best interest of the San Bernardino Community College District. Were there any comments? Hearing no comments, we will close the hearing. Excellent. So no need for vote. Moving on to resolution 2021-10-07-FPC-01 and approval of a design build energy services agreement with Sunpower Corporation Systems Incorporated of Anaheim, California. May I have a motion and a second? Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I do have discussion.
Please, Trustee Williams.
I just want to say, as we adopt these two new technologies, I think it's important that our students get the opportunity to learn about them through some type of degree or training program, because, you know, if you see more and more, the companies are not from, you know, our community. And so how do we build the capacity of people that live and work in this area to be able to do this type of work?
Good point. Good point. Other discussion? All right, then I'll call for the vote. Student trustee, how do you vote? Thank you. Trustees, how do you vote?
Aye.
I believe that was unanimous. All right, thank you very much. That concludes the action agenda. Moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is expected to be routine and non-controversial. It'll be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any member of the board, staff member, or citizen may request that an item be removed from this section for discussion. I do need to announce that there is a typo on the payment of stipends item on page 150 of the agenda toward the middle of the page. The date for other stipends should be October 8th, 21 through December 17th, 21, not 31, which is a really long period of time. With that correction, are there any items also to be pulled from the consent agenda?
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes, sir.
It would be good to pull that item then so that you can approve it as amended.
Okay. So let's pull that item. Excellent. Yes. Page 150 of the agenda.
I think it's item B10.
Yeah. B10. So we're going to pull that one and vote on it separately. Are there other items that need to be pulled? B10. Human Resources Payment of Stipends.
So I'm.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm on the electronic.
Other items to be pulled?
Yes.
Where is it in here? Oh, okay, thank you.
So if there are no other items, I move that we adopt the consent agenda with the exception of B10.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion on anything? All right, student trustee, how do you vote? Aye. Trustees, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right. I am not asking for nays because I keep hearing all the ayes. It's an unusual thing after being on Zoom for 20 months. But if anybody is a nay, please, I will listen for you, just saving time. Okay, so moving on to the adoption, or the vote on the adoption of Human Resources number 10 on page 150, identified as payment of stipends, where we have identified that the period should be to 12/17/21, not 31. May I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Any discussion on that? Student trustee, how do you vote? Trustees, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, excellent. So the consent agenda has passed with those two votes. Moving on to reports. So we're really close to the mic, but anyone who's doing a report, it would be really helpful for us if you could speak directly into the mic. And thank you to everybody who's spoken earlier tonight, because you have. So moving on to reports, board committee reports. Are there any? No. Okay, not from, just,
It's not necessarily a report, just to give you an update. I was very fortunate to accompany my wife to Washington, D.C.
Did you turn
Sorry.
on? Thank you.
Am I loud enough? So I took it upon myself to go visit a couple of the organizations, and we're requesting through the Hispanic Associations College Universities. We have over 600 Hispanic service institutions throughout the country. I had the opportunity to request that they're going to put it in the agenda. We actually had a meeting today, a discussion on the HACU requesting funding for HSI's infrastructure. $10 billion. $10 billion it will take. It's going to be very difficult to get that, but we're going to push for that. We've done the studies, and it's going to be submitted. And if we do that, that means that this is going to help tremendously our colleges, whether it be Crafton Hills or Valley College, but throughout the country, that are HSIs. We're actually following the lead of the historically black colleges. They've done a good job. It's helped the community, the students. Our saying is that Hispanic service institutions serve everybody, not just one particular set of colleges and universities. So we have a good opportunity to get some monies that would really help a lot. I was not really totally prepared to say that, but I think it's very important when we are having an organization in Washington, D.C. advocating on our behalf of billions of dollars for infrastructure. And I know that Chancellor Rodriguez on our side will be very happy to get some money to do the housing projects that we have planned at Valley College and at Crafton Hills College. So I'm going to pursue this very, very heavily. And I think that we've done this before. That's how we started to get the money from the fire training facilities. This is a little bit bigger, but that's the process that we're going to follow. So it's not a formal report, but I just want to give you an update that we are going in that direction. And we just had a meeting today with a virtual with Senator Padilla and Senator Menendez, that are the leaders for advocating for this. So it's looking pretty good. How much money we can get, we don't know, but we're going to continue to push.
Thank you. Trustee Williams, did you have a report from the Board of Governors?
No report.
Okay, good. All right, moving on. Chancellor's report and key performance indicators, please.
Thank you. So this month I had the opportunity to meet with a few organizations about partnering. Excuse me, my glasses are fogging here. About partnering and developing internships and apprenticeships for our students across the district. I had the opportunity to meet with the executive director of the IE Labor Council, and also with a firm, an energy solutions firm, ENGIE, who is very much interested in hiring our students. And just want to thank Trustees Reyes and Longville for their connections in those areas. Did some presentations on behalf of the district, did a Cash for College, trying to encourage students to apply for financial aid. Did that presentation with Senator Leyva. Also did a regional presentation with GIA. The topic was Toward a Shared Vision for Our Region, and also presented at MSJC's Leadership Academy on cultural proficiency in leadership. I'm happy to say that KVCR has a number of students who are participating at minimum twice a week in the studios with 6 different courses. So things are moving along there with student involvement in the studios. And they're also continuing to work on a program called Working on Real Causes. It's a program in a partnership with the Unified School District that helps students with disabilities in that area. Attended the Redlands Chamber of Commerce State of the Community Address. And I also want to thank Michelle Riggs and Dr. Haran for their invitation to the Team Crafton event. It was especially nice for me to connect with folks that I hadn't seen in quite a while from that district. And last night, I joined SBVC's campus and community meeting, and Dr. Thayer and his team did a fantastic job in sharing with the community about all of the fantastic things that are going on at that campus. And we have staff here if there are any questions on the KPIs. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any questions on the KPIs? All right. Thank you very much, Chancellor. San Bernardino Valley College Academic Senate.
Good evening. It seems like that went very quick tonight, so I was finishing up my notes. I'm being very honest, and that's one thing I am. I'm very honest. I hide very little, and maybe sometimes need to do a little more of that. So thank you for having me again tonight and the opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on at San Bernardino Valley College in terms of the faculty. As I like to do, I'm going to share a couple. I've realized that I can never share everything because there's so much good happening. And it's really nice to be in a space myself to recognize the good more than what we're still working towards. It's a nice framework to kind of work from. And that's been as a result of, I think, the leadership that's been in place and the conversations that we continue to have is, let's look at the good things we're doing. Yes, we're working on things, but we always have these good things. So thank you for all of those who have mentored me in that and helped me be more patient along the way. I can't highlight everything, but I do have a couple highlights for faculty today. One of them is our Margaret Worsley is now hosting a show on KVCR every month called Musically Speaking. And it premiered, I want to say about a week and a half ago. Well, the fourth Saturday of every month is when it is a new show. And then it at 7 p.m. on KVCR. And then it airs at 3 o'clock on the following Monday. And so she's doing some really tremendous work in partnerships and bringing in some great artists. And she's got a student connection involved in there. She does interviews when students are present and are able to take part in that. And that, of course, is in collaboration with not only KVCR, but as well as our film faculty as well. So they're doing some great work. Hispanic Heritage Month is, well, here we are, Hispanic Heritage Month. And there are several events happening at San Bernardino Valley College. It's one of those months that we work very hard at promoting some very strong events to highlight various speakers. One of them is up and coming this next Tuesday, October the 12th at 2 o'clock via Zoom. These are all going to be virtual this year, of course, but we're having good success with that, so that's good. So October 12th at 2 p.m., we are going to be having Tony Plana, who is a veteran Cuban actor, director, and a longtime arts and education and advocate. And he's got very strong ties to San Bernardino Valley College, so he'll be there presenting as part of a series of events. I couldn't list them all because there's quite a few of them, but I'm always happy to share those if you would like. In terms of Academic Senate, there hasn't been a long time between the last time we met and tonight. But in that short amount of time, we continue to work on our focusing on the infusion of our DEIA work in all of the areas related to Senate. That's the small world that I get to live in. It's a good world. But a few examples of ways that we have been able to focus on that this last couple of weeks is at our last Academic Senate meeting, I invited the Dreamers faculty and support staff to come and present to us at our Senate, and they did a fantastic presentation to introduce the idea of how faculty can support our undocumented students. We did that as a precursor to Undocumented Student Advocacy Week, which I believe is next week. And so there's been a lot of information coming down from the State Chancellor's office and resources to share with the campuses. And so just trying to promote that and to not only respond to that, but to highlight what we're doing on our own campus. And they just did an amazing presentation to really, again, to focus on how faculty can support our students and to language to avoid, language that can be used. And they also are offering a faculty ally training starting next week as part of their, they're doing a series of presentations and workshops all next week as part of that advocacy week. So they have a great program outlined, and I'm really excited to see the ally training come out of that. It's important that as we do our DEIA work, that we look at all of those communities and not leave anybody off to the side. And our Dreamers are one of those groups for sure. In terms of curriculum, I invited the curriculum. As you all know, there's been a lot of resolutions that have come down, and curriculum is addressed in almost all of them in terms of action items, things that we should be doing as a campus to integrate DEIA work, right? It's almost like the core of what we do, and if we start there, other things will happen. But we were finding that sometimes faculty are a little bit lost with what to do with that. Like, I'm teaching in this subject area and I don't know how DEIA work applies to me in my subject area, or they kind of shoot for the low-hanging fruit. Okay, in my Canvas course, I'm just going to put a diversity in terms of pictures and people and ethnicity, things like that. And so trying to connect the dots for the faculty was really important, especially at this time of the year when we're doing our content review. We're writing new curriculum, we're reviewing current curriculum, and that's part of this normal cycle. And so I invited our curriculum chair, Mary Copeland, to come and do a presentation. She's always at Senate, but to specifically connect those dots for faculty and to, lay the foundation and the framework of the resolutions that have happened, the call to action from the Chancellor's office, the local level, the district level, the state level. And not only was she able to give a fantastic foundation for faculty, but she was able to provide some real, very current examples by Mandy Batalo, who was in our art department, and was able to show how, gave examples of how she has done some work in her courses. And it was really fantastic, and the feedback was great from faculty, and they were very thankful for that. And lastly, another example is the CTE toolkit. With our equivalency committee, we are often challenged with, in an equivalency and when we're looking at faculty, let me start over with that. CTE toolkit, basically in the equivalency process, we're always seeking to be diverse and to cast our nets very wide with our candidates. But in a lot of times in the CTE areas, we find ourselves limited by the current process and the minimum qualifications and what's outlined in our policies and procedures. And the state has written a CTE toolkit, and it's been sitting, if I'm just going to be honest, it's been sitting a little bit stagnant. But it's really an opportunity to ensure that we maintain diversity and maintain a much more inclusive pathway for applicants. And so we're taking that up. The Senate is standing behind that, and so the hope is that we'll be able to bring that back to the equivalency committee and find ways to implement that within our current process. And the idea is to, when we've got a candidate who is, completely qualified for a job in the career field in which they're going to teach, to not have to turn them down for even the opportunity to work at the campus, right? It's just an opportunity, and sometimes they get shut down at that level. So really excited to see where that goes, and I have faith we're going to see results with that. Last couple things with Academic Senate, there have been, from the Academic Senate perspective, I've done quite a bit of reach out to faculty in terms of the recently passed resolution, really working to make sure that I have all the voices and the feedback that I need as we move into the work group process and start having those conversations and dialogues, and just ensuring faculty and trying to build that trust with them, that their voices will be heard. I think that is, I think I'm doing a fairly good job at that, I hope. And I look forward to being part of those processes or those conversations and those dialogues. I will say that overwhelmingly, the feedback has been of concern, but the concerns have been really focused around the logistics. How is this going to happen? Who's going to make this decision? Where am I going to go? You know, is this going to cost me my job? Is it going to cost me money? That kind of thing. So it's not necessarily the resolution or the requirement itself. It's really focused on, overwhelmingly, it's focused on the actual logistics. So I look forward to those conversations. So last but not least, we're keeping strategic planning in our sight. I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation for, I don't know how long, it'll be a while. But I did want to recognize and thank Executive Vice Chancellor Jose Torres and Chancellor Rodriguez for coming back to campus and sharing with us the kind of overarching view of strategic planning at the district level and how that connects to us at the campus. And look forward to working on that in the future. And I think that is enough for tonight. And y'all have a great night.
Thank you. Trustee Williams had a comment.
Yeah, I've been supporting the CCLC's trustee DEI committee, and I just wanted to applaud you all because it feels like, or it sounds like, I think you guys are leaps and bounds further or beyond what other districts are doing in the DEI space, and so I just wanted to applaud you for that work. And then I wanted to ask, as you do like the professional development with faculty and helping them differentiate the learning through, what's your thoughts about student feedback on how the activities that are being designed, how they perceive them or how they receive them? Is that appropriate, or have you seen anyone doing that, or having like focus groups with students as these new subjects get approached, or yeah?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I want to first just recognize that it's not just us, right? It's a team effort. It really is a campus-wide effort. It's a district effort as well. So it's just really all the pieces coming together. Rather than working kind of in a silo format, I really see us finally coming together and having, it's a process that's resulting in like everyday conversation. Like every meeting that you go to, you're hearing DEIA. You have somebody in the room who's saying, but what about this group of students? Or what about the student impact here? So I'm just a part of that, and I'm excited to be a part of that. And in terms of student response and what they're seeing, I don't want to speak out of turn. I can only speak with what I know. We're asking for data. We need data, right? And that's really the next conversation, is how do we measure that? How do we measure what we're doing? How do we measure the results of what we're doing? I don't know how much of that we would know now, but that is the conversation on the table, and those conversations are happening at various levels. I've had conversations with Interim President Scott Thayer, as well as with Chancellor Rodriguez, and we will continue to have those conversations. But data, I think, is really the next step, is to see what are the students experiencing a difference, right? And are they seeing that? Are they feeling included and welcomed, and as if, yeah. So I don't have that personally yet, but that is a question that we have.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I meant like on the design. How like, so if Coca-Cola is going to do a commercial, they do a test group on it. And so as you design the activities, is there any testing that, not like physical testing, but just like, hey, how do you receive this activity? Does it? Do you think it applies? Is it like that? That's what I really.
Well, and again, I don't think I can answer for the whole campus, but I can speak to like in pockets of the areas that I'm involved in with distance education, as we're developing an online training program for students to really orient them to the online training or online education process and what it takes. And that is our number one goal. I was actually just with Dr. Oxendine here. I was just saying, before you leave, we need to have this conversation. One of the main things we wanted to know is we need to have a student focus group so that we understand their needs. We don't want to assume their needs any longer. We think we're educated about it, but we don't really know what those shoes feel like, right? We're all a little bit removed from that, and we really need to hear from them. So I know that in pockets, I can't speak for the campus, but I know that again, because of the work that we're doing, in those pockets, those conversations are important, and focus groups is one of those things that we've been talking about.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, San Bernardino Valley College Classified Senate.
Good evening, board members. I didn't do much preparation to be able to memorize it, so I'll be mostly reading the report for tonight. So, the Classified Senate of San Bernardino Valley College has been working with other constituent groups in preparation for the newly established Chancellor's Council and the subsequent advisory committees. We have made tremendous progress in many areas, although the Classified Senate is concerned with the collegial consultation process as it is being applied to matters on the agenda. The disregard of this process led to the contentious topic during the board strategy session on September 23rd, 2021. It was eerily similar in the alignment of the misunderstandings conveyed when the topic of KVCR made its way to the district board meeting without proper consultation from constituency groups, and the time necessitated in obtaining thorough feedback from the constituency. One part that sticks out in my mind is the mention of the Safe Reopening Task Force, wherein I am a member. It did not meet or have any discussions after the August 1st reopening passed in the July 2021 SBCCD board meeting. Many task force members weren't aware of any discussions leading to the resolution put forward during the board strategy session on September 23rd, 2021, until an emergency meeting was called with little notice for Friday, September 17th, 2021, for a scheduled time of 1.5 hours. The Senate membership is becoming increasingly uncomfortable in the sidelining of collegial consultation and the shared governance process when handling timely and important matters. Nowhere within the resolution wording does it establish a COVID-19 response committee tasked with input on evaluating the situation with COVID-19 variants, determining next steps and direction of the next steps, along with ongoing meetings with the district-wide consultation body to further study the important things of feasibility and implementation. It read like we have already collegially met and determined this as an undertaking we need to perform. This is much different than saying it needs to be evaluated by our district, since similar districts are considering these actions. From an outside perspective, it looks like through the Board of Trustees from an outside perspective, it looks as though the Board of Trustees approved this resolution because other districts know what is best and have established a policy that meets their district's needs. That is a far cry from evaluating whether we have the same need or feasibility of implementation, thus leading the Board of Trustees to possibly direct the Chancellor in developing a BP and AP document series that may largely be ignored or used to unduly discipline or terminate employment. In the section with the statement of "be it further resolved" leaves too much open room to sidestep the collegial process and shared governance in developing a plan for consideration, much less than it would be considered necessary as put forth in a shared governance doctrine. One troubling fact: the resolution presented was a much different document than that was put forth for the discussion in the emergency meeting of the task force on Friday, September 17th, 2021. The wording in the resolution, specifically where it states, "Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees directs the Chancellor to take the following actions." Item number 6, thinking with a different hat on, Number 6 states, requires all guests and visitors, as well as students and employees with approved exemptions, provide documentation of negative COVID-19 test results no more than 72 hours prior to arrival on college campuses, community sites, district offices, and buildings. With this statement, you have identified the board's intention to treat all others, except district employees and students, as being considered fully vaccinated. This wording is an indicator to all not to inform SBCCD of vaccination status, because doing so creates a requirement and cost to maintain that status. Thusly, you have indicated the expectation of untruthfulness by non-district personnel, such as outside vendors, consultants, and they need not inform the district on any status unless they are seeking an exemption. This was further emphasized by indicating the discipline or termination that may result for district employees and students. No other forms of actions were considered. Let this sink in a little while. There are enough problems with the resolution the board approved on September 23, 2021. Consideration of a future agenda item to repeal the resolution is warranted. From the audience side of the meeting, it appeared as though the board wanted to pass anything, because special efforts were made to place this action item on a strategy session agenda, rather than waiting for more details on the occurrence of the next regular board meeting. In the process of the meeting, it became apparent many board members and the administrative support could no longer identify the resolution with all the changes in the moment, leading many to believe the board members voted to approve an action item in which they lost track of what the revised resolution was, thus indicating to the audience the acceptance that we approve the resolution, and the audio recording will indicate what we approved because many board members lost track. This gave the audience the insight that many had predetermined their vote with little consideration of the public comments, nor consider the ongoing discussion amongst the board members. As a side note, I did have difficulty writing that as the classified Senate point of view from my constituency group. But I also wanted to put that forth because during that strategy session, there was also discussion about how well the board performed and how well the board looks at itself. So I went forward with this maybe not so positive report to have you look at what the other side of your table is seeing. And when you look at your own evaluation that you presented in that strategy session, that maybe you reconsider what the people you're representing are thinking that you're accomplishing and how you are upholding being their voice for the district. Thank you.
Thank you. San Bernardino Valley College Associated Students. All right. Crafton Hills College Academic Senate.
Hi, how are you guys? So on our campus, we have a whole bunch going on, but I want to keep it pretty short. We have Tech Tuesdays and Wellness Wednesdays back, and I wanted to mention those because they focus on educating us on how to be better educators. So Tech Tuesdays focus on involving technology, not just in our classroom, but in our remote instruction and our online instruction. Last Tech Tuesday was on podcasting, especially to get our students away from the screen and just give them a break from learning online and be able to go for a walk and still get the same information. And Wellness Wednesdays are there so that we don't lose our minds while we're doing Tech Tuesdays. We have our DE lead, simplifying our verification process for our online instructors. And that'll allow us to remove barriers and then put more of the training on the front side so that we're not requiring so much before you get in the door, but we're requiring more and offering more once you're there and you're learning what it's like to do that, because it is much different from being in the classroom. We also have our remote instruction task force with our amazing VPI, Keith Worst, that's going to meet once a month where any faculty member can show up and ask questions about what's going on in their classroom or give feedback on some sort of technology that they might be a little lost on and get feedback right away from the campus and then allow us to try and problem solve with them. We are also having Hispanic Heritage Month, which is ending now, and events for Indigenous Peoples Day and Coming Out Day, which is on Monday, October 11th. And I wanted to thank Officer Quigley in the back, who has come by every time that we've had a table on our campus and met with students and helped us put up decorations and take them back down. It's been really nice to have that kind of involvement. And also big thanks to Keith Wirtz for helping us encourage attendance to the USC webinars on decentering race in our guided pathways. And on guided pathways, our guided pathways 3-year maps have been sent to the chairs for approval. We're hoping to get approval by October 22nd. The 2-year paths are already approved, and they should be up on the website soon. And the 3-year paths would then join them, giving students more than one way to make it through. The last thing I have is a resolution, and my good friend Meredith is going to help me read it. It's a resolution on education, and so because of that, it has a lot of footnotes. And to make it less confusing while I read it out loud, she's going to read the footnotes, and I'm going to read the resolution. It's a very serious resolution, but the delivery might be slightly comical. So, Crafton Hills College Academic Senate Resolution, Fall 2101. In support of the role of education in addressing vaccine hesitancy and anxiety and COVID-19 misinformation. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic continues to threaten the lives, health, livelihoods, educational goals, mental well-being, and normal social interactions of our campus, our community, our state, our nation, and our world, and misinformation and outdated information regarding COVID-19 and vaccinations have made combating this pandemic even more difficult, needlessly putting lives at risk and compounding stress during an already traumatic time. Whereas the role of vaccination in eliminating or reducing the spread of pathogens has been established by over 2 centuries of research and experience, and several COVID-19 vaccinations have been developed over the past 2 years with more than 6 billion doses given.
And the footnote for that is from Our World in Data, an article titled Statistics and Research Coronavirus Vaccinations.
Whereas the risk of transmission and reinfection from previous cases, sometimes thought of as natural immunity.
From the University of Chicago Medicine, article titled, Do I Need a Vaccine If I've Already Had COVID-19?
Is significantly higher than the risk of transmission and reinfection from vaccination.
From the CDC website article, reduced risk of reinfection with SARS-CoV-2 after COVID-19 vaccination.
Which have been shown to effectively reduce infections and transmission. Vaccination, in addition to safety measures such as physical distancing and masking, decreases the risk of current and new strains.
From the Conversion article titled, What's the Difference Between Mutations, Variants, and Strains? A Guide to COVID Terminology.
And new variants of COVID-19 is essential to protect us all, but it's... Oh, thanks. New variants.
From the CDC article titled Coronavirus Disease 2019, COVID-19, What You Need to Know About Variants.
Of COVID-19 as essential to protect us all, but especially critically at-risk populations.
From the CDC website, at-risk populations include but are not limited to immunocompromised, post-surgical, ongoing therapies such as chemotherapy and convalescent stages. Please see COVID-19 vaccination considerations for persons with underlying medical conditions on the CDC website.
And whereas cases of COVID-19 are found disproportionately among unvaccinated populations.
Also from the CDC website, new COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations among adults by vaccine status.
While safe and effective vaccination remains one of the best methods, along with physical isolation, to effectively reduce transmission, infection, and death. Consequently, becoming vaccinated helps protect individuals and our entire community.
From the CDC article titled Reasons for Adults to be Vaccinated.
Resolved, as an institution of higher education, Crafton Hills College and SBCCD should actively promote accurate, peer-reviewed, scientifically based analysis as part of education regarding COVID-19 and vaccinations in a manner that is unbiased, up-to-date, and as straightforward as possible. As part of this work, we ask that the administration organize and disseminate a list of faculty, staff, and administrators who will be called upon to comment and lend expertise.
Expertise on COVID-19 is established as field researchers and specialists, epidemiologists, public health officials and educators, those involved in clinical practice and related fields. Expertise on vaccine hesitation and anxiety is established as field researchers and specialists, public health officials and educators, medical sociologists, medical anthropologists, and related fields.
To messaging. Further resolved, as an institution of higher education, any dialogues of Crafton Hills College and SBCCD regarding the vaccinations and the vaccination mandate must work to actively address vaccine hesitancy, anxiety, and misinformation by relying on compassion, science, and fact to guide conversations, and continually acknowledge the efficacy, need, and safety of vaccinations. As part of this work, we ask that the administration organize and disseminate a list of faculty, staff, and administrators that will be called upon to comment and lend expertise to such dialogues. Further resolved, that while being respectful to all, regardless of vaccination status, the Academic Senate calls upon all members of faculty, administration, staff, students, and the community of Crafton Hills College to make every effort to become fully vaccinated. We strongly encourage our campus community to seek the counsel of their healthcare provider and the objective expert guidance of medical, scientific, and academic professionals, both within and exterior to our campus and district. Further resolved, that all of the Crafton Hills College faculty and community actively increase awareness and education regarding all current SBCCD guidelines addressing the risk of COVID-19, including but not limited to vaccinations, personal protective equipment, physical distancing, exposure reporting, and COVID-19 testing, in the spirit in which they were made, the protection and safety of all. That ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I noticed during your report that the San Bernardino Valley College Associated Students representative came in if they would like to go next, if that's okay with my colleagues. Because we had skipped them when they weren't here. Was that right? Yeah. So if you'd like to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse my lateness. This past September 29th, the SBC Associate Student Government held our first live event. It was a club rush, and we had 15 clubs participate. Turnout was great. Each club was able to recruit or reach out to a large number of students to get membership for their club. And our next event will be we're trying to do something for the students in towards the end of this month for Halloween. And everybody seems to want to interact with each other again, so that's kind of what we're hoping to do here on ASG. Right. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Crafton Hills College Classified Senate.
Good evening. I told Brandy I would read her report, but I told her I would not do it in her voice. So I'm going to read it as she wrote it. So, good afternoon. I apologize for not being able to make it to the board meeting, but due to a conference I'm attending, I'm unable to show. For the Classified Senate at Crafton, we're doing our best to provide as much support and respect for all individuals, employees, and students alike during this time. While we do understand that the intentions across the district are merely to educate those unvaccinated, the Classified Senate would like to reiterate that these individuals are not ignorant, nor that they do not understand how vaccines work. This specific situation pertains to a lack of choice and, at times, a patronizing tone directed towards their belief, a belief that they do not want to put something into their body that they do not feel comfortable with. We implore that everyone keeps in mind that this situation should be handled with empathy and a willingness to listen. However, we do acknowledge that the board has already passed this mandate and that we are waiting to hear the logistics. We only ask that the respect and the support promised from the last meeting will still carry over as it gets closer to January 7th. Lastly, we do want to extend our appreciation towards Trustee Williams for being considerate, empathetic, and moderate in his approach towards the mandate. We cannot thank you enough for being calm about this matter and supporting all beliefs. Thank you. Those were the words of Brandy, Crafton Hills Classified Senate President. Thank you.
Thank you. Crafton Hills College Associated Students. CSEA has already presented. CTA?
As official footnote reader and SBCCD TA reader. So I don't have a very long report tonight, which since I'm the union, that's a good thing. So I just have a few things. The first is Brandy and I agree that when you say SBCCD TA, you need to say it like a cheer. It's better if you just say it like SBCCD TA. So from that one.
I'll work on that.
So anyway, we continue to stay in contact with our faculty, both those who are on campus and remote, that we have now a bit of both. So we've been trying to do a few more on-campus things at both places. So at Crafton, in the last couple of weeks, we went out and distributed snacks. There's a little bit of an issue with food, not so much food on our campus now, so we just went and put our sticker on everything and went to a couple different places, left snacks for faculty. None of it was healthy, so it was all junk food, but it was great. And then we had coffee and donuts as well on campus for the faculty who were there just to stop by and say hi. We both times outside, obviously, to do that. And at Valley, we are going to be doing a face-to-face evening snack attack there as well. And then also we're having a partnership for the next luncheon at Crafton. We're having the Valley food truck is going to come over and provide food for the faculty at Crafton. So we thought that would be a great opportunity to support both campuses. We have submitted our Sunshine proposal, so that came through tonight, and we're going to hit the ground running to address that. We didn't add a lot this year since we still have quite a bit carrying over from before, but we're going to be doing that. In general, faculty continue to be very supportive of the vaccination resolution that was passed last week. Was that just last week? 2 weeks ago? But I would like to definitely encourage the administration to diligently work on the implementation plan. And I know that is coming, but it is something that we need so that we can communicate that to faculty and to students. Faculty make a living providing information. That's what we do. And I know it's kind of hard on us when students ask us questions and we don't really know what to tell them. And so that would be something that I would just certainly encourage to keep working on. And as a union, we also need that plan, that implementation, the logistics behind that, so that we can negotiate the impact that would have for faculty and make sure that we get it in a position where it's the best for faculty and for what they need. So that's it. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Police Officers Association.
Good evening. Sorry for the informal attire. I just came from a training at the Sheriff's Academy. First, I'd like to say thank you for the shout out. And thank you for acknowledging that we are trying to engage with the community. We hope that we will continue to do so. That is one of our primary goals as being police officers, is to be able to engage our community and for the betterment of our district. And we will continue to do so in the future as well. Our first thing we would like to point out is we'd like to highlight the organization of one of our math tutors at SBBC, Miss Santian, Diane. She is going to be organizing a women's self-defense demonstration from the campus center on October 14th from 4 to 5:30. From what I understand, she's partnered with the Valley College Police Extended Academy to show just self-defense tactics specifically for women, for faculty and students. Our job is, of course, to try to keep everyone safe at all times. Unfortunately, we can't always do that. So we hope that as many faculty and staff can attend, and they can learn how to do it themselves and keep them safe. So we hope to hopefully host something like that in the future. As far as negotiations go, our department is, our association is moving forward with our contract. We were waiting on the state for about 9 months, and they finally came back. So we hope to be finished with that soon. We're also moving forward with a modified duty resolution. This is going to be for an assignment that in our job we can't always do certain things because of injury or pregnancy or things like that. So this is going to be a resolution that we hope will impact future officer well-being as well as betterment for our employees, so that while they're pregnant or if they're injured, they can still be doing their job and still be doing a service to this district without having to fight the bad guys and drive fast cars and things like that. So we hope that moves forward. And of course, we are always here, and we hope that people will contact us and be part of the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move on to the president, San Bernardino Valley College interim president there.
Well, thank you and good evening. A few things to share tonight. We had our virtual campus and community meeting yesterday, so last night. I want to thank Chancellor Rodriguez and the district leadership team for being in attendance, as well as the executive team at Valley College for sharing the work that we've been doing since we reopened to the public August 1st. So a lot's been going on, and we had a chance to engage the audience, answer some questions, and just give an update. So real exciting things that we were able to do last night. We had 90 attendees that logged in, so that's a great number. We've been getting great attendance in our virtual events, and so we just we're real thankful to have that opportunity to share the things that we're doing. I also had a chance to tour KVCR. Goodness, it's been less than a week, and to see the students in the lab with Professor Lucas Cooney, just watching them be back on campus was exciting. Getting their hands on the equipment in KVCR. So just seeing it in person was really a powerful thing to walk through the area and then to run into the students. Didn't know we would see them, but we ended up seeing them, had a chance to talk to them briefly about just being in class in person. Last week, I participated in a accreditation site visit. Believe it or not, it's almost a year since we had ours, and so a virtual site visit, it just was a great reminder of the work that we've been doing in our district, on our campus, and getting to see our peers, helps kind of give us a sense of, wow, we're doing some real great stuff here at Valley College. I also was presented at the Expanding Horizons College and Career Youth Conference this past Saturday, and that was sponsored through the County Superintendent of Schools Foster Youth Services. So just to see those students take a time out of their Saturday, listen to speakers, and really got to share what we have to offer at Valley College. Just let them know that we are here today, we're here tomorrow, we're here next week, we're here 95 years and counting. We're here for them, just so they knew higher education is in their community, and our former foster youth just need that support. So really excited to be able to do that. Our grants office has been busy. We are a sub-recipient of Chico State Center for Healthy Communities USDA Grant Award. And so what does that do? It provides us funding to expand and support students who are eligible to receive CalFresh. So now we have student ambassadors who will be helping our students apply for those benefits. So that's something that's happening. We're also partnering with the University of Redlands through a grant for a NSF Advanced Technological Education Planning Grant. So the hope is we'll get the planning grant and then move to the ability to apply for an implementation grant. So the grants office has been busy at work, making sure, seeing if we can get some external dollars into the college. I know it was mentioned earlier, Undocumented Student Action Week is coming up. And so we have our Dreamers Resource Center. And I just wanted to give a shout out to our Senate President Davina. Those presentations were powerful, informative, important, and they really help leverage for our faculty what we're doing as a campus around the Week of Action, which is a statewide event that really supports our undocumented students and provides resources for faculty and staff to support those students. Some highlights from our Measure CC. We're excited. We're getting closer. Our softball field project, our applied technology building projects are both getting ready to bid for bidding, and they should be coming here with the contracts very soon. The next month or two, I believe, is the timeline. So we're getting ready, getting closer for those facilities projects, and the college is looking forward to that. The last thing I'll say is we are participating in the Great Shakeout. That will be October 21st. So we will practice duck, cover, and evacuate emergency drill on our campus at that time. And so that concludes my report.
Thank you. Certainly. Trustee Harrison.
I just wanted to thank Dr. Humble from Valley College, who at the last very possible minute agreed to speak to the Rialto Women's Club. And I attended to give her moral support because I was so glad she did it and I didn't have to do it. Anyway, the ladies from the Rialto were very appreciative. The report was excellent. And every time we do a report, a community report, and we go out to groups, we always hear stories from people who are saying, my daughter attended your colleges, our son did, our grandson are attending. We like what the reputation of our community colleges in the community, in many cases, people who have had one or two classes or have gotten their AA, has been excellent. And so they were very responsive, and we need to do more of that. We need to do more of that. I want to let my colleague, Trustee Williams, because I volunteered you to speak at the next meeting of Rialto Women's Club, because I said, yes, because I said, although we all represent the total district, we are elected from certain regions, right? And that's your region. So I was just helping you out. I just wanted to know that. Just wanted to know that. So you're on the schedule.
So-
But anyway, I just wanted, we have such a good support out there of people who have had a good experience on our campuses. And they love us. They may have a few complaints here and there. Maybe they didn't get the proper service that maybe they called, and it's been tough, but this past year and a half. But on the whole, very positive feedback. So I wanted to thank Dr. Humble for saving my bacon. Thank you.
So the last time we were at the Women's Club, then President Chancellor Rodriguez helped me with the presentation. So don't forget that.
Trustee Reyes.
Yes, I also want to thank the San Bernardino Valley College for working, perhaps Crafton Hills as well. I don't know if you're working directly, but it's a big issue right now in terms of the DACA students and undocumented students. We want you to know at the state level, you're getting a lot of support. I also attended a function yesterday. The governor was there at Northridge, and he was very supportive of any programs that are going to help our students, especially community college students. And as all of you know, we had probably the best budget that we've had in a while. So let's continue to do a good job. I think we're getting more and more high-level people to really recognize that the community college is really where it's at. I remember when I first started working here, when Gloria was very young too, she and I, community colleges were viewed as a transfer, just strictly Stanford. Now, everybody's getting involved in terms of workforce development, and we're very inclusive. So great opportunity for us to let the people that vote for our budget always keep that in mind, because we can do a lot of good things and say good things, but if the people don't vote for the budget, then we don't go anywhere. So I wanted to say thank you to the presidents and the chancellor and the leadership in the academic on both campuses. Let's continue to do that, because we are getting a lot of good support because of the good job that you're doing. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to Crafton Hills College, President Haran.
Good evening, trustees. I want to report out tonight on focus on two of the board's goals. One goal is advance access to address diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. I want to first thank you for approving this evening a new AA transfer program in social justice studies. That our faculty, senate, and curriculum committee have done an amazing job putting this degree program together, which will be an excellent addition to the curriculum at Crafton Hills College. Additionally, I want to recognize Dr. Keith Wirtz, who is leading an application to another project through Leading from the Middle, where we are titling it Infusing Equity and Diversity in Curriculum. It's a group of administrators, faculty, and staff that will be looking at how we can, across the curriculum, infuse these topics into each subject area in order to make it a conversation across the board. Like has been reported out previously by others, we have many cultural events taking place this week. We had a wonderful Hispanic Heritage Planning Committee event today titled Hispanic Stories and Recipes, where we had Professor Isidro Zapeta had his class share art and poetry and cooking recipes. It was just a wonderful event. On Monday, we are celebrating two additional events. We have National Coming Out Day panel from 12 to 1 p.m. And these are virtual events that you are welcome to attend, as well as Indigenous Peoples Day celebration from 2 to 3 p.m. on Monday. And then later in the week, we'll be celebrating Dios de los Muertos on Friday, October 15th. Also this month, we'll be having a series of activities around undocumented allyship and how we can support students better in our community. And the other goal I'd like to report out on is diversifying revenue streams, and I do not want it to be understated, and I want to thank FAIR's group. You approved two resolutions today around solar farm revitalization at Crafton Hills College. This project will provide much needed financial relief for the college by allowing us to utilize new technology that will almost double our production with a third to half of the panels that we currently use. So it's an outstanding step forward into long-term savings for the college and the district. And the last thing is to invite you to, on Thursday, November 4th, we have a exclusive event for Crafton Hills College Foundation President's Circle members, or for those individuals who are thinking about joining the Crafton Hills College President's Circle. It's an evening with Brett Waterman, who's the star of the DIY Network show Restored. You might recognize Mr. Waterman with his cowboy hat on TV, and he'll be talking about his journey, how he ended up what he's doing today, and he'll be talking about conservationship and the importance of historical sites in our communities. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Trustee Williams, you had a point you wanted to make?
Yeah, I just want to make a plug again for sustainability and clean energy training for students with the farm. Anytime we have that, I'm going to keep talking about it. But the real thing that I wanted to ask about, you guys have a lot of great events and stuff. Is there a way that the trustees could get like an email with links and hashtags and buzz language so that we can just reshare it? Because a lot of people like would be interested in just the public events that you want people to know about. Like could we get that in an email so that we can share it? Because sometimes, like if the algorithm is off, sometimes we don't see, or like I know on mine, sometimes I don't see what the district shares. It just doesn't show up in my feed, and I can't reshare it. And so I think it just depends on how much I've interacted with the page that day. And, so it would be cool if we can just get a email and we can just kind of promote that kind of stuff, like your fundraisers and stuff like that.
I'll see you on November 4th at Thursday, the President's Circle event. Trustee Williams.
Yeah.
I do get an awful lot of things from Crafton on my Facebook, so I'm friends with, but I do not get anywhere near the same amount from Valley. So I don't know on your official Facebook page or Twitter or whatever else, or Instagram, I do not get that kind of constant. I knew about the circle, the performances, I knew about Hispanic heritages and all the stuff that was going on at Crafton. but I don't get that same kind of volume from, and I share it. I share it on my professional page and I share it on my personal page. But I share everything that I get from Valley also, but I don't get the same amount. I don't know who's in charge of it, but I think it needs to be fed to us, and we all have a following, and so we can share it beyond them.
Yeah, we'll make sure our social media team gets that and gets it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for your reports. Moving on to information items. Are there any information items that anyone would like to discuss? All right, hearing none. Moving on to item number 10, announcement of closed session items. In closed sessions, we're going to discuss conference with labor negotiators under Government Code 54957.6. We're going to discuss public employee discipline, dismissal, release, non-reemployment under Government Code 54957. Conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation under Government Code 54956.9. I can't help but keep thinking that I really should be doing this as a cheer, as was recommended. Yay, litigation. All right. And we'll also be discussing conference with legal counsel under existing litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9. Two other items, conference with real property negotiator under Government Code 54956.8, and a public employee performance evaluation Government Code Section 54957B1. So it's darned going to be an exciting hour. So were there any public comments? This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any closed session items. I don't have any cards. I just wanted to be 100% certain. Okay, so we are going to convene closed session in the other room. Following, we'll reconvene the public meeting and report on any actions that occur in closed session. But before we go to closed session, we're going to have a 10-minute break. Cheer. So there you go. Thank you for those of you that were here and provided your thoughts and insights. reconvene the public meeting and do a report of the actions in closed session. Madam Clerk, would you read the action?
Yes, on October 7th, 2021, the board unanimously, with 6 board members present, took action to approve settlement of workman's comp claim number 514055 with employee number 2502.
Thank you very much. And at this point, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. And the next board meeting is a strategy session on board candidate interviews and provisional appointment. As all of our meetings, it will be properly noticed, and it will be on October 28th at 4 p.m. Here in the boardroom at Hospitality Lane. Thank you. Have a great evening.